What? Wow. Really? I don't know where to begin with this. I really don't. So this started with an email from NUX saying, would you like to review our brand new B8 guitar wireless system? And I thought, yeah, that'd be a cracking fun little video to make. A wireless system, what do? You plug it in, you'd run through all the features, you run to the back of a room or as far as you can, you play your guitar, you make sure there's no dropouts, and you come back and you say it's great. And that's it. I thought that'd be great. But then I started getting into the wireless thing and oh man, was I wrong. Was I ever wrong? The stuff in here is, well, there's a lot to it. And a lot of it's done very, very well. But there's a lot of other stuff in there that I thought, what have you put that in there for? Who in a million years would want that? That's a stupid idea. But as I got into it, I started doing the video and discovering exactly how I would use this and how other people could use it. I discovered that I was wrong. And you know what? A lot of these features that I thought were a stupid idea, I'm actually converted. Come and join me on my conversion journey. I don't know where to begin with this. There's a lot to unpack, so I'm just going to pick something. I'll show you around it. We'll get it out of the box, and then we'll crack on and get into some of the features, okay? Here we go. So when you get out of the box, the first impression is that, you know what? This is quite a sturdy, substantial piece of kit. It doesn't feel cheap, it feels well made. It's all metal construction. The belt pack's metal construction as well. You get a little lead with it, which has got a 3.5mm jack that's got a screw-in hosel there, so that doesn't come out. It's nice and firm in there. The lead's a little bit long and it might have been nice to have an angle jack on there, but you know what? That's really good quality and seems to work. And the pack itself is little and it's light, and it's got a spring clip on there that actually works. Then the unit itself has, obviously it's got a big button on it, and it's got a very nice little colour display, but it's got, and this is where it gets interesting, it's got an out, obviously, to send to your effects pedals, and it's got another out to send somewhere else. We'll come into why those things are useful in a minute. It's also got a cable in, so you can plug a guitar lead into it, so it goes straight into your system. You don't have to mess about unplugging things if you do need an emergency to use a guitar lead, or you just don't want to. You've got the option to just plug straight into your chain there. Then on the back, it's got a ground lift switch. It's got a USB port for updating software. Yeah, I know. It's got obviously the power in and an XLR out. That's curious. That's the first curiosity. And the second curiosity is that it's got a second in and an effects loop. Okay. Now you're probably thinking exactly what I thought when I saw those two things, but bear with me. It's not as bizarre or odd or as useless as it sounds. It's actually quite clever. But we'll come to that in a bit. Now, this unit operates on a 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth. There's two bandwidths that you can operate on. There's 2.4 and there's 5.8. 2.4 is where mobile phones, networks, all of these things kind of tend to operate, so it's often very, very busy. There is a trade-off with 5.8 in that in 5.8 you don't get to travel as far, or you don't transmit as far, because the bandwidth's shorter and it doesn't travel through objects as well. So 2.4 technically is a better bandwidth, however it's very, very busy and quite congested in some places, which for some people and some units can cause some dropouts. However, NUX have got a few things in place with the B8 that makes that not happen and makes the 2.4 gigahertz system really a bit of a bonus. The first thing is what they call intelligent frequency hopping, which is something that didn't happen in all the digital wireless systems, but it will move frequencies and constantly be scanning for frequencies within that 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth or for channels that aren't busy. And it will find things that haven't got interference in, so you can get a clean signal and it'll automatically jump between them without you even knowing it. It does a couple of other things as well that on their website they call 1 megahertz narrowband transmission for improved spectrum efficiency, and 6-level stability and audio zip and unzip. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to read about them, but they do help and they do make it a lot more stable. It also does the true diversity thing, which means effectively it's got two aerials and it picks the best signal from each one and it's constantly scanning to figure out which is best. We'll come on to those little curiosities in a second, but I wanted to take this thing to a bar and to a gig to actually try it in a more real situation. So that's exactly what I did. Now, where I went, there was a point of sale system, there was a customer Wi-Fi, and there was Wi-Fi from my desk. And I also checked the bandwidths, and I could see Wi-Fi from the bar next door. Now, as people come in, that Wi-Fi environment will get more and more challenging because all the mobile phones will come in, and that's going to cause more congestion at 2.4 bandwidth. However, what I'll do after the gig, I'll report back to you and I'll tell you how well it's done. In a bar, we're going to test this thing. I've got a glamorous assistant. It was short notice, but we'll have a go. Right, so this is at a meter. We'll go the far end of the bar and see what we get. Outside, but it's by the way, if you subscribe, comment, like, or give me a hype, I really appreciate that. Okay, it's now the night after the gig where I videoed the wireless being used, and I've done 2 gigs with it now. I'm just about to head home, but I've done the second gig with it tonight, and you know what? Both gigs, it's been absolutely flawless. I've not charged the battery in between at all, and that's still going strong. It looks like it's got another half a gig in at least. And performance-wise, I've had no dropouts, nothing. It's been absolutely flawless all the way. Yeah, very impressed. Let's have a look at the display and all the things it shows you and all the things it can do, because this gets quite interesting. So when you turn it on, you get that screen. Then it starts scanning for the transmitter. Now my transmitter is not turned on at the minute, but if I press the button and turn it on, so when you switch the transmitter on, this is the screen you get. So if you look down this side of it, that shows you the signal strength. Now the transmitter is just here, so you'd expect it to be strong. However, if I put this behind me and my body is between the transmitter and the receiver, can you see it drop a bar? That's interesting, but it doesn't affect the performance. Now, you'll see later on in the video where I test it in a bar and I go right to the far end of the bar and go outside and do all these things. Look out for that on the meter as well. Okay, so the signal strength is there, and you know what? If it's digital, if you've got signal, it's working, so that's absolutely fine. Round the dial is the level control, just a little needle kind of thing. And if I play that, you can hear my... You can hear my horrendously out of tune guitar that I've just picked up, but you can see the signal strength going up there. Now, these pickups are quite high output, so it will bend the needle, but it doesn't distort. So we'll have a listen to that in a minute anyway. Now, down here, we've got a battery indicator. That's really useful to be able to see exactly where your battery is. Now, I did 2 full gigs on this, and the battery indicator was, well, I was down a couple of blocks, but it was still going strong, and there still seemed to be plenty left. Then we've got the menu buttons. If I press that, it shows you all the things you can get into. We'll go through them one at a time. The display, whether you want it to look like that or whether you want it to look like that. I'll stick with that one. Now, this one is interesting because this lets you adjust the latency. So if I select that, you can see it goes from low latency to stable. And the stability is just, you know what? When I tested it, I whopped that down to there. I saved it, and that was it. So the test that you're going to hear in a bar of me playing this thing is with the lowest latency, and you can see for yourself it was fine, absolutely fine. Okay, if you're playing somewhere with a lot of Wi-Fi noise, then that might be a help, but you know what, with it all the way down, I had no bother with it at all. Next thing to look at, tuner. Now the tuner is pretty good. You can choose what you want the tuner to look like. You've got 3 options there. I chose that one with the little blocks on. It looks like that, and it gives you everything you need. Let's have a look at the foot switch next. This is really interesting. So if I go into there, you can see it's tuner or boost on the tap. So yes, this has got a boost on it. So you get to decide which way around you want to run this. You can have the tuner on the short press and the boost on the long press. If you need to use your tuner a lot and then you find that your boost is only used occasionally or never, then that's the way around for you. If you want to boost in your signal chain to make your overdrives work harder and make your amp work harder, etc., then you put the boost on the short press and the tuner on the longer hold. But you get to decide and choose what works best in your setup. And you know what? Having a boost on the foot switch on your wireless, I think, is a little stroke of genius. Why not? It can. It might as well be doing something, mightn't it? Let's have a look at the output. So, fairly obvious. It's an output level. Turn it all the way up and crack on with it. Now, the boost itself, we'll have a look at that. So, you can have up to 12 dBs of boost. That's quite a lot of boost in that pedal. And it's not a bumpy tube screamer type of boost. It's a nice, clean, flat, just lift the level up, completely the same everywhere boost. And obviously you've got a little indicator there to show you whether it's on or off. The transmitter pack has a cable tone indicator and an on-off. The cable tone, basically, we'll talk about what that does in a minute, but the on-off for it is there on your pack. Let's do a tone test. My guitar is plugged straight into my Tonex and into my audio interface. No wireless. This is the baseline test to compare it again. Now I've plugged my guitar into the wireless system, yes, with a lead, because you can do that and it's useful to be able to do it, and then into my Tonex. So it's going through the wireless system, but not wirelessly. This is the wireless, wirelessly with the cable tone off. And with the cable tone on. Out of curiosity, I'm going to try that cable tone thing with a cleaner sound. So this is with it off. And with it on. Out of curiosity, I'm going to try that cable tone thing again, but with a cleaner tone. This is with the cable tone off. Have a listen. On. Let me just take a moment to explain what cable tone is in case you don't know. So, when you use a guitar cable, it goes from your guitar to your amplifier. And that cable itself has some capacitance in it. Every cable does. But the longer the cable is, the more capacitance you have. Now, if you have capacitance in a cable, the more of that you have, the more it acts as a filter and it takes away top end. So you lose some presence and some sparkle and some treble to your sound with a longer cable. Hence those big, huge, curly cables that Hendrix used and that Brian May used had an effect on the tone. So it tries to emulate that. Okay, I said the B1 has some curiosities, and yeah, it does, but we're going to talk about them, and we're also going to talk about a couple of things that really are just a bit of a stroke of genius, I think. Firstly, this effects loop. Why would you want that? Because you go from your wireless into your effects, and then you go to your amplifier, and that's it, job done. Well, the first advantage I can see is you've got somewhere obvious to take an out from your board to your amplifier rather than finding your last pedal in line and going from there. And if you're plugging a guitar lead in, that goes in next to it as well. So it's a simple in and out thing. The other thing is that effects loop is buffered. So if you've got a lot of true diversity pedals, then they don't tend to have buffers on them. And if you've got a cable going to your amplifier, you're going to need a buffer, otherwise you'll start to lose signal strength. So it's buffered and it gives you a little bit of in and out as well. And here's the other thing that's curious. It's got an XLR out. Now, as a guitar player, you're not in a million years going to want an XLR out, are you, to a mixing desk? Because you need to go to your amplifier first. And if you're in a digital world where you've got a Helix or an NHX Stomp in there, then you're going to go stereo into the desk. You're not going to want to go back into your wireless to turn it to mono to then send it to the desk. You're not going to want to do that. However, if you're a bass player and you've got stuff in your effects loop, then it's going to be mono, isn't it? So you've got a balanced line into the desk. If you're playing an acoustic gig, you've got an acoustic guitar with a balanced line into the desk, and you can put stuff in the effects loop that's buffered. So for instance, for my personal use, I do quite a few acoustic gigs, so I could put my looper pedal into the effects loop, my octave pedal, and a couple of other bits and pieces. They're in the loop, and I can then have a balanced line going out to the mixing desk, and I've got a boost on the pedal as well. So I record a loop, then I'm going to go and jam over the top of it. I hit the boost, I'm a little bit louder, and it's all working. That's great. If you're playing other instruments, for instance, you might be playing ukuleles, you might be playing a fiddle, you might be playing a brass instrument, you can use the wireless for that, and you've got a balanced line out to the desk, and you've got a boost pedal there as well. For those people, I think that's just great. And then think about the space it's saving on your board. It's saving you the space of a buffer, which you probably haven't got anywhere, and you probably should have, a tuner, and a boost pedal. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Tell me in the comments what you think of those little quirks. Are they quirky things, or are they actually quite useful? I'd love to know what you think, and I'll see you in another video. Cheers.